Hello to all my evildoers out there, and welcome to the Darkness Hour. I'm your host, Darkrise, and this is the comic book review, episode number 203.1. That's right. As your host, I am here to review all the good, okay, and not so good comics, but the not so good comics are the good guy comics. So for this review, these books were released on September 17th, I believe, of 2013. And before we get into the good books, let's get into the not so good books. Starting with Pirate Plunder Panic, Part 2 of 4 of Sonic Universe, issue number 56. It's a good guy comic book. You know, some artwork I'm going to show, even though I really don't want to, but I'll give you a little bit of a thing right there. Talks about how this Captain Metal, so to say, is trying to create this like this machine, and this is what I like about this Captain Metal. And it goes into Amy and her little friends of trying to save Blaze, their cat, and all that stuff. But what really caught my eye in this comic book was Captain Metal's Ego War. Now, yeah, the name may sound a little bit cheesy, but it's the engine of destruction, so that kind of caught my eye in that. And he just wants to use it, and then, of course, as always, something bad has to happen in the end where something gets a little bit messed up and he can't use it. So that's what kind of ruined it, the last part. But personally, this issue, I was just interested in Captain Metal. I mean, I wouldn't care that Blaze is kidnapped and Amy and her friends are going to try and save her and woohoo and all that stuff. So, you could buy it if you want, but Captain Metal just was the only good part in this. And another good guy comic of Mega Man, issue number 29. By the way, this was by Archie Comics, I forgot to mention, and so is this of Mega Man. The Blackout, The Curse of Ramoon, part 1 of 4. And basically, to sum up this whole hero story, Mega Man just wants to stop this wave to save her sister Roll, while this new doctor, what was his name, Pedro Estelle, with his buddy Platman. I mean, really? Artwork right here. Pretty decent, I could say. We go into his whole boring origin story of the Doctor and all this of what's happening, and meanwhile Mega Man brings his friends back to life and want to go stop this whole wave from happening. Whereas this one right here, this machine that caused the whole darkness, which actually refers to me, actually, the whole thingamajigger, and the robot goes by the name of Ramu, who is this big circular robot, wants to take over everything. So as Mega Man, his dog Rush, and his buddies, they meet up with these guys, which, I mean, they were looking for trouble, Mega Man and everything, so if anything, they shouldn't be at their territory. And then they're just fighting them, and Mega Man just saying, I'm going to fight for you, Roll, and all that stuff, so yeah, we always get that from the good guys nowadays. But I mean, between these two comic books, if you're a Sonic fan and or Mega Man fan, you'll pick them up, and if you're evil, like I hope you are, like I am, then you won't. But up to you guys from Archie Comics. Now, the favorite part of this review is week 3 of DC Comics Villains Month. And starting off with this comic book of Dolly number 1 from Justice League issue number 23.3. Now, this comic book was okay. I mean, many people didn't like it. I mean, I have no idea why. I mean, it looks like these villains have this dial thing. I love how they have the red background and everything to make it look like so much is happening. And there's this little dial pad where they could change into different forms of things that kill, of course. I mean, they're not going to do any good or harm and give you daisies and roses or whatnot. And it's just shown that these kids who dial, they have like all these people in different shapes and or forms that attack people and, you know, who look for trouble and all that. The artwork is just simply drawn amazing, along with the red background. And I mean, unfortunately, one person didn't get to use the dial, but there's this person that comes in the end called Rescue Jill that comes at the end, and I guess it's to be continued in dial E and dial Q for Qued or something like that. But not my cup of tea, but it was alright with all the different shapes and stuff like that. But I give it a try if you want to and all that stuff. Next up, Xiao Thief #1 from Justice League of America, issue number 7.3. This was 50-50 as well. I mean, it does talk about, you know, this woman that could change into a, like a different shape, like a Xiao Thief, like the skin that she uses. She's known as a spy, and she just has this little bit of an origin story of how she became Xiao Thief, and the artwork is really drawn magnificently with the whole demons and these creatures that she went through. And then she has a little talk with Ramil, and the woman's name is Avia. I think that's how you say it. And there's just these guards who are coming in just to shoot her and stuff like that. And we get a little bit of an origin story about Avia's parents, of how they, you know. I mean, if you guys want to look into this, you could, because there's lots of dialogue, and I love this page right here. This page is just simply wow. Just Xiao skin and everything. It's just... there's no words that could express this. This was just like excellent. And it's the end for now. I hate when things end for now, because I was enjoying this. But up to you guys if you want to pick this up. Unless I could get this comic book in. Don't be stubborn with me. I'm Dark Rise. Xiao Thief #1. Up to you guys if you want to pick this up. And if you want to read that. I think I said from Justice League of America, issue number 7.3. In case I didn't, then yeah. Next book is Arcane #1 from Swamp Thing, issue number 23.1 in 3D. By the way, some of these covers are going to be in 3D and some are going to be in 2D, so either way, the comic book is still awesome. And if you can see the 3D cover right here. So it talks about Arcane. It kind of actually reminded me of when I was reviewing Salman Grundy, with all the things that rot and stuff like that. And but it was like more into it, of the whole things that eventually rot, and he wants no one to ever rot. And then he meets up with this person named Abigail, and it's just like a whole story of how it talked about, you know, about Abigail's mother and how she was adopted, and then how Arcane became to be, and you know, everything else. There's just a whole big dialogue. The whole book, basically to sum it up, is Arcane and Abigail talking to each other about her parents, what they were really like, and all that other stuff. Artwork was great. But yeah, it was good to know about Arcane, because I've actually heard good things about this character, or this villain I should say, because character could mean good or bad, but this guy is just real in the bad category, which right on right there. But if you guys want to pick this up and see the issue for yourself, to see how everything is, or want to know about the villain, then you'll be picking this up. Now here's another book where I was a little bit with. The Rogues #1 from The Flash, issue number 23.3. Now, and it's in 3D also, by the way. Now these guys are pretty interesting. The only thing that I found a little bit of a thing is that, I mean, they do steal, which is villainous, but they don't kill. Now I had to close the comic book a second saying, wait a minute. This is a Villains Month book, and you're saying you don't kill. That's not part of the villains category. I mean, yeah, you steal, but well, what can you do? That's the character personality, though. And that's to show a little bit of the artwork. And it just talks about this whole thing of, about this, let me try it again. Lisa Snart, of how, she has this feelings for Sam Scooter, and, she wants to try to get into the other world to see him, and, she wants to try everything in her power, whereas this happened. And, you know, it's just, I mean, the guy's name, like, what was the name again? Leonard. I mean, he goes crazy ever since he heard about his sister and everything. And I thought he was doing a good thing by going against his team, but then when he was saying that he was sorry for what he did, I'm like saying, okay, you lost me now. You were doing so good. See, this is what happens when you're a good guy. You start to feel like an emotion thing, and then you start to feel sorry. That's what I just don't get about these good guys nowadays. But anyway, just to skip around, it leads into the tie-in where the crime syndicates were in the Forever Evil, and you know, with stuff happening to Leonard's sister, he wants to just know who's responsible, and it's to be continued in Forever Evil Rogues Rebellion #1. I'll let it slide a little bit. I'm just not with this whole we steal but we don't kill. I don't know how and I don't know why. It's in a Villains Month comic book, but it's a toss-up for me. It's pretty good, I guess. Next comic book is Cheetah #1 from Wonder Woman, issue number 23.1 in 3D. And who is this Cheetah person from Wonder Woman? Well, in this comic book, it talks about how she was at Bella Reeve, and she goes by name of Barbara Minerva. I'm not good with names, you know. And basically, she just rampages in the jungle, fighting against these people. And there's this person, Mark, who, you know, is trying to wonder about this person. We do get a little bit of a Wonder Woman scene in this book, where Cheetah talks to her and everything, but, you know, things just don't go out too well between her and Wonder Woman. Like, she sort of, like, stabs Wonder Woman and all that stuff, and I'll tell you one thing, though, when she came back, she wasn't so, wondrous, if you get my drift. So then it talks about how Mark went into the place where Cheetah lives, and talks to the person who runs it, like her family members, her aunt, by the way. And there's a whole big thing of how it's survival of the fittest, of how it looks to when I was reading this comic book. And basically, she kills her brother, proving herself worthy of being in the family and all that. And then there's this whole thing about the Godslayer knife that she has to look for. And it was just a whole big thing. And you know, I'll show a little bit more of the artwork in this. And in the end, it shows where, you know, Warp says that the society waits for you, and it's to be continued in Forever Evil. Where Mark claims that I will take you down if it ain't the last thing I do as a promise. Yeah. As a human being against a villain with superpowers, yeah, good luck on that, Mark. But other than that, great issue, interesting to read, and if you want to pick it up, then you could. Next up, Black Hand #1 from Green Lantern, issue number 23.3 in 3D. Now, Black Hand, I mean, like Rebel, like, it might lead into Lights Out from what I'm hearing, like all this roundabouts about that of Green Lantern events. And basically when Black Hand comes back, like, he doesn't know, like, where he is. He, like, kind of has a little bit of amnesia, and then these policemen are taking him down. And I'm like, seriously? I mean, that's what I don't get about these people under authority. They just treat people like, you know, you just want to know where he was, and then they throw him in prison. That's just really wrong, in my opinion. And here's some artwork, which is great artwork. And he just forms big lines. This is my favorite page, by the way. There's whole fire everywhere and destruction. Gotta love that. It's very lovely. Something I was saying, now we're getting some action here. And there's just a whole big rampage, and the policeman who arrested him, he feels the whole sweating thing, and he's down and out for the count. And this is what really interests me in the end part. Like, when he was over Martin Jordan's grave, which is Hal Jordan's father, all the memories you see in this page come back to him, and he rises his father from the grave and wants him to work for him, and his father offers him an arm, and so if he's gonna kill Green Lantern, it'll be with his own father's arm. That is just pure perfect right there. And it's the end for this one. Definite pickup for Black Hand, and hopefully we'll be seeing this guy more in Lights Out with this whole thingamajigger with Rebel. 'Cause that's going to be something interesting that will be a definite read. Definite read. Next up on this is Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins #1 from Batman and Robin, issue 23.3 in 3D. So this book talks about really how he is like, you know, like this person who just fights. He's like a swordsman, so to say, but they say like the master is a demon, and there's just a whole big dialogue about you know, just this guy right here. Total badass right there, if you ask me. And that's a good artwork, I would say. Well, good grade, in other words. So then he talks about, like, he has an encounter with this person who he's fighting with, and he says, oh, I want to fight you to take the demon's head and all that stuff. Being a little bit too cocky, if you ask me, because you're talking to a villain and all that stuff. And then it talks about his origin story, Ra's al Ghul, about the pit that has the wills of sins, and it goes like a little bit back and forth into the years, and the sword fight was just very amazing, even with a little bit of a Batman cameo in it. We didn't see that coming with a superhero. And there's a whole big thing about that, and he's just saying, like, you know, Batman is dead and Justice League is gone forever. So after hearing that, you know, there's a whole big thing, and tell you what though, that guy was being cocky. Sure got his arms up in a needle bunch, if you want to read what happened. So now, with the demon in the Dark Tower, I think he has some other plans, and he'll be seen in the latest mechanisms of Reyes Al Ghul unfolding the pages of Red Hood and the Outlaws. Machinations, I don't know. Like something like that. So if you want to see more of him, you'll read the Red Hood and the Outlaws. See how it goes there. Which, I'm pretty sure with the villains, they've been doing a great job, so I don't think there's not any superhero that could one-up the villains. I don't think they ever could either. Next up, here's something interesting. Deathstroke #1 from Teen Titans, issue number 23.2 in 3D. So, Deathstroke, it talks about really of how Deathstroke works with Deathblow, and there's just like a whole big thing of the story about how he became the Bee, and give you some artwork right here, which is very artistically drawn. I mean, even this one right here. So it's really like the whole thing about an origin story and a mission that him and his father do, and it explains about how he has an eye patch because on a certain page he wears an eye patch under his mask, which is right here. And it explains how he lost his eye, and just really in the end is just like, you know, it was just really talking about an origin story and how he did his mission. And if you want to learn more about Deathstroke, you could read his comic book, as well as looking for the Teen Titans and Forever Evil #2 before the trial of Kid Flash in next month's issue of issue number 24. So kind of interesting, pretty good. If you want to read this comic book, you should, and see for yourselves how it goes for you. Next, we have Scarecrow #1 from Batman Detective Comics, issue number 23.3. There is a lot of dialogue, which I was interested in reading. I mean, not saying I didn't read it, I actually read the whole dialogue, because Scarecrow is one of those main people that I've been looking forward to reading, actually. So basically, Scarecrow is having a big talk with so many different people, like Mr. Freeze, and you know, and the plans. It kind of brings you back to Two-Face a little bit, and here's the artwork along with the coin that's been shown in some of the Batman comic books. And Scarecrow is one of those people that he just gets them and stuff like that. Then he meets up with Riddler, and they have a little bit of a talk about the Arkham vs. Blackgate, and like I said, lots of dialogue about today being gone, tomorrow as a riddle, and that actually plays a role in this comic book in the end. And also Killer Croc makes an appearance in this comic book, and this page was just, wow, that was really just epic right there of a Killer Croc. Then we meet the lovely Poison Ivy, who he talks with, and you know, the sub-generator. And I love this page right here, where it just shows in sideways forms of all the Batman villains taking over each and every city. This is something that should be happening in this world, but it's not. It's happening in that world, which is where I come from. But the city is theirs, since the Justice League and no one's there to stop them, so boo-hoo on the superheroes, and yay for the villains. But if you want to learn more about Scarecrow and read the whole dialogue yourself, you can. I would say you could pick this up, and it's definitely recommended. Those of you who were looking forward to reading this as I was. Next comic book is Hell #1 from Superman, issue number 23.3, 3D. This person was another interesting villain, actually. Talks about like how his name is Hell, and how he is Krypton's prodigal son, and that he's returned home and all that. Artwork is really good. I will admit that. And it just shows Jor-El, who knew he wasn't going to appear in this comic book, and his whole thing of, you know, about the whole experiment with Hell, and, you know, he just wants to know, like, what's going on, and Zod does make a little bit of an appearance in this comic book, who talks with Jor-El. And there's just lots of crazy stuff that's going on, and just this page got my eye right here. That page alone itself. And Jor-El's like saying, you know, you could help us, Hell. You could be our savior. And then I just like when he says, why would I do that? And I said, I agree. Why would you do that? So instead of doing that, he's going to do something that this was my favorite sentence right here. I have no interest in saving Krypton. I'm going to rule it. And don't miss Action Comics Annual number 2. That page. See if the Man of Steel could stop him from him being so-called dead with Justice League. And if he comes back. But, excellent. Interesting issue. If you like it, you should read it and pick it up. It's just dark like that. So let's get into the next comic book, which will be actually this. That's a stupid flickering light. It always does this. And someday, one of these days, I'm gonna outsmart that flickering light. But until then, let's get back into the good stuff, which is the Villains Month comic books. With Clayface number 1 from Batman the Dark Knight, issue number 23.3. In case any no more interruptions, Mr. Flickering Light, maybe I could show all my evildoers out there what the comic book's about. Thank you. So, it talks about the origin of Clayface, where back then he was Basil Carlo, and it just shows like, I mean, this guy's got a real temper. Like, if you say one negative thing about him, like calling him a moron or an idiot, you better watch what you say, or else the consequences will be daring. And the artwork was fantastic, though. So, I mean, he was, I will admit this though, he was kind of a little bit whiny with the whole thing of, you know, not being in the secret society and everything, and he's like saying, oh, I should be in it because I can do this and I can do that. It was a little bit whiny, but you know, I like his character where even though he was down, he's going to try everything in his way to get into the secret society, and that's what I like about these villains. When they get themselves down and pick themselves up, that's what's good about them. And yeah, so it shows Carnage of what he does, and he can actually transform, I forgot to mention, into any person that he sees. Or really that he thinks of, if you want to put it that way. And he just lashes out on people who, you know, they're giving Clayface trouble. I mean, Clayface isn't the one giving trouble, it's the people, so, you know. But Justice League dead, I mean, there's no one to stop him, really, and boy, when they said some of calling him an idiot, yeah, that's a mistake. And that's what happens. And, yeah. So, yeah, it just shows, like, this whole, destruction where it's done. So, yeah, and, you know something, I've been really calling these villains. Maybe Clayface I should, put on the team. With every shape or form, and with people, they're gonna have to watch their mouths when they talk to this guy right here, because this guy's boss, and he will get you with dire consequences. So you better watch what you say. That's all I'm going to say for that one. Eclipso number 1 from Justice League Dark, issue number 23.2 in 3D. So with a justly dark comic book, I mean dark, hello, you know, talks about really about this guy, Gordon Jacobs, who talks with his boss over the internet, Jonah, and the boss is just saying all these negative things to him, like saying, you know, like, your vision clouds your judgment, and even though you are engaged to my door, you now were engaged because, you know, you need to leave us alone or I will call the cops. And then this guy shows up in a blue gem. Or a little gem, I'll say. I don't know if it's blue, black, or I don't know, whatever color it was. But he actually talks to him, and oh my god, the artwork is just... I couldn't put this book down because this artwork just amazed me in so many ways. And the story itself, like, just telling him what he needs to do in order to release Eclipso. And he says, like, Gordon, you are the one, and the only way that I could fix your problems is if you do one thing. With that gem he has to cut himself. And not once, not twice, not 3 times, but as many times as needed to work with him. So since he left his computer, you know, very rudely, so to say, and the boss going to see what happened, I don't know why it's any of his concerns, because he just told him you're fired and this and that. Now he's going to see if he's okay. Bipolar much? So he meets with Eclipso, the boss, and he feels his wrath, and that happens. So you don't want to mess with Eclipso with a new friend in him. And so now with the father dead, now he wants to go comfort Mona, who was the girl he was engaged to, or might go back, and to protect her. And that's really the whole issue of that. So, wow. Amazing. Marvelous, stupendous, great issue. This you have got to pick up. Because this, by far, was one of my favorites. And these next comic books was also my favorites. I mean, don't get me wrong. The others were my favorites, and they were good / okay. But this one was one of my favorites. And it's a definite pickup to read that comic book. Another one of my favorites right here, Penguin #1 from Batman issue number 23.3. Now, many of you might think, you know, Penguin, you know, he's just this guy who's fat and has like this big nose and doesn't really do much, right? Wrong. Way wrong. So, here's a penguin with great artwork. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any artworks. And he is known as the Illusionist. And it starts off where he's at the Iceberg Casino, and these guys won, and he wants to collect their prize, and wow, what he doesn't do, he just massacres all 3 of them. As the penguin right here. He just got the job done. Hands down. So for someone you may have made fun of who was fat and had a big nose, prove yourselves wrong. Very wrong. So it talks about also where Carter Winston said that this city isn't his anymore, and he decides to go with Miss Collins to talk to the Penguin, also known as Oswald. I don't know why he didn't respectively use his villain name, but that's how good people are. They don't even know their real villain names. And Carter just wants to talk about how he wants to get rid of Iceberg Casino and make more things. So what does the Penguin do? Well, he drugs him with a little bit of champagne, and Carter sees Miss Collins murdered. And Penguin has all the video footage evidence. Like, he one-ups Carter the whole way through, like saying, well, you may want to go to cops, but I beg to differ, because I have video footage that you killed Miss Collins, and the sexting that you two had, and everything else. And, you know, I like when he says that Gotham is the Penguin City and no one else. And in the end, he kills himself, Carter, and Emperor Penguin the Illusionist. Every person he has, I mean, you just never underestimate the Penguin, because he will definitely always have the last word. I love this character. This character really brought a smile to my face when I read this comic book. You guys will love it. Well, for those of you evildoers, you'll love it. For those of you good people out there, maybe not so much. But you will love this if you read it. And last but not least, we save the best for last, which is one of my other favorite comic books, who I truly admire as a awesome role model, Lex Luthor #1 from Superman Action Comics, issue number 23.3 in 3D. This man right here is a genius. Hands down, a genius right here. And long story short, there's this plan that he has where like, there is a lot of dialogue here, and he does fix his face, that he had a little scar over there. But I wouldn't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. So, artwork was great. Or excellent, I should say. Not great, actually excellent. And there was a whole shuttle thing where the astronauts go into space. And there's a little twist between that, actually, which we will get to. So, there's just like a whole big malfunction thing of, you know, Lex just wanting to hear, and wanting to see Superman, like, just fail, because he did hear from one of his, Casey, her name was, that, you know, the Justice League are dead, and he was saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna save them, but I just want to hear something from one of the people about taking over his business. And basically what Lex wanted to do, he didn't want to get involved because it would have said the failure's on Lex Luthor. He wanted to show the failure on Superman, which is a really big thing, which I applaud Lex for doing, because he did a great job in not getting involved with making him at fault of the failure. So that's what I like about him. He's just so smart like that. And you know, just the whole, just ruling the world. And he can rule the world. You know, it just takes time and everything. And so yeah, with Superman out of the picture and everything else, he hires another person called Miranda. And I just like when he says, I can't tell you how excited I am, and then Lex responds, well, of course you are. I'm Lex Luthor, for God's sake. Be continued and forever evil. Yeah, for God's sake, yeah. So, yeah. Excellent. Brilliant. Just out of this world amazing. This guy, if I were to pick the best leader to join us in the CWO and the whole Dark Rise, I would let him be right beside me, because I admire him very, very much, this guy. And you'll admire him too if you pick this up and read it for yourselves. Because there ain't no Justice League, no Man of Steel, no Superman, no anything else. And, yeah. So, that's all the comic books for this week of, I believe September 18th, because I think I made a mistake in the beginning. They were actually released on September 18th of 2013, so I kind of made a little error there. I mean, I've just been busy with so many villain stuff and planning out everything, and week 4 is coming up for Villains Month, as well as the live show, which, as well, I mean, I don't know about this week's live show. We'll see how it plays out and all that stuff. But other than that, thank you all for joining the Darkness Hour. I'm your host, Dark Rise, and this was my comic review of issue number 203.1. Now, I knew that was going to happen, but luckily, I didn't come alone. See, I have a backup plan. This light. And if you haven't seen the Dark Rise trailer, so to say, you should see it, because Dark Rise, you can't win. And you can't beat me. So you will kneel in darkness forever. Oh, come on! I give up. And you know what? Darkness rules me forever. You will live in darkness forever and kneel before me and the CWO of Dark Rise. Farewell, evildoers, and stay evil.